Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is March 6th, 2023. My Uncle Jimbo's birthday today. Also on this episode of GMWF, I just want to start off. Gonna have another quick discussion about AEW Revolution from last night. Definitely not going to be as long as the episode of Wrestling Fanatic was last night. Don't have the media scrum to watch and have on to play the audio of. So this is just going to be a much shorter, much quicker recap of last night's pay-per-view. I just want to say, last night on the podcast, I don't know if I really talked about how great of a show it was. Definitely a thumbs up from me. And I know it's still early on in 2023. It's only March. But I'd have to say, as far as big pay-per-view / premium live events go, I'd have to say this probably has been the best one of 2023 so far. Big fan of it. There wasn't a bad match on the show. There was maybe a couple that were, I'd just say, good, but definitely not bad. And there were definitely matches on this card that were great, especially the main event, Bryan Danielson and MJF, the 16-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship. MJF retaining in sudden death. And I didn't mention this last night, but I'm sure if you listened to the podcast, you heard Tony Khan mention it. I think I got that part on the media scrum, that towards the beginning of the match, when MJF went through the crowd, he grabbed a drink from a woman, and then he threw it right into her kid's face. Or I don't know if it was really in his face, but he did throw the drink on the poor kid. What I'm hearing so far is that it was real. And I'm hoping that this was just a plant and they're really making it convincing. And but what I have heard is that the kid's mother had to be talked down, was very upset. Of course, I'm sure anybody would. And I know on the post-wrestling post-show, I was just listening before I left, is that Amanda Huber, Brody Lee's wife, and stepmother, and her son had the drink thrown in them. Like I said, it was mentioned during the media scrum by Tony Khan. And that's the thing about MJF. I always talk about he is probably one of, if not the best heel in the business. Big fan, but I think sometimes, in this case, throwing a drink at a kid, just a little boy, might have been taking it a little too far, and not to make an excuse for MJF, but maybe he just got caught up and just saw the woman with her drink there, grabbed it, and I'm still not saying it was right, but like I said, he just might got caught up in the match in heel mode, I guess you could say, And there's been times where he has definitely done some mean things, even to kids, where gave a kid the finger a couple times, I believe. And now, if he would have done that to an adult, a grown man or a grown lady, would have been fine. But I think doing it to a kid is a little too much. But nowadays, I think people do get a little too upset, even if just a heel goes to a kid and rips their sign up. Now that, I don't think that's that bad. Because I know when I was a kid, if I was in a front row for a wrestling show with a sign and a heel came up, ripped up the sign and threw it at me, I would have thought that was great. Probably thought it was one of the coolest parts of that show, and I would always remember that. But nowadays, I've heard stories of a heel coming out and taking a kid's sign and ripping it up like that, and then the parents getting upset. It hurt the kids' feelings, things like that. But I think that's fine. That's just a heel being a heel. Heels are supposed to be hated. But again, throwing a drink at a kid is taking it a little too far, I think. So, great main event. MJF and Bryan Danielson. MJF still AEW World Champion. Bloody mess. A lot of blood spilled on this pay-per-view. Another great match was the Texas Death Match. Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley, which I forgot to mention this on the podcast last night. New music for Hangman Adam Page coming out to Ghost Riders in the Sky. I'm not sure who is singing this version of it, but I didn't recognize the song right away when he came out to it. Great match. Hangman getting the win over Jon Moxley. Of course, this was violent and bloody, just as you would expect it to be. I think that Jon Moxley should be off a little bit. Maybe he could go and take that fishing trip that he talked about that he hasn't been able to go on just yet. That was back in September, I believe, around All Out. He was supposed to go like on a mini vacation or something, but then when that brawl happened and he had to cut that vacation short. So maybe he could take that vacation now, because at least 1 week he should be off of TV to sell the injuries from this brutal match. And the women's championship match, the three-way, Jamie Hayter successfully defending the women's championship against Ruby Soho and Saraya. And the post-match sees Ruby Soho turn heel, Swerve, not Strickland, but Swerve, Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter acted like she was siding with them, but then attacked them after the match. Sided with Saraya and Toni Storm, spray painting both Hayter and Baker after the match. And all the other matches on the show were at least either good or better. And like I said, there were some matches on this show that were just great. Thumbs up again from me. Let me know what you thought of Revolution last night, either in the comments section, wherever you are listening, if there is a comment section, or on Instagram, the post I did last night about when I did a rare live 360 Wrestling Fanatic after Revolution. And if you see that post, 360 Wrestling Podcast on Instagram, leave in the comments what you thought of Revolution. And so far, what I have seen has been positive. I haven't heard or seen anybody that had a negative reaction about the wrestling that was on the show. I know some people might talk about MJF throwing the drink. Wasn't very good, but just as far as a wrestling show, I think most people have loved it. And that's all for this episode of 360 Wrestling, or 360 GMWF, I should say. Thank you everyone for tuning in right here on Spreaker or wherever you listen at. As always, stay tuned for new episodes of 360 Wrestling Fanatic coming at you. And we'll be back right here tomorrow morning for the Tuesday episode of GMWF. Don't miss it. Hope everyone has a great Monday today. Hope everyone enjoys Monday Night Raw tonight. I hope everyone had a great time watching Revolution last night. Until next time, keep watching pro wrestling.